if we talk and if we ask the question, yes, how to encourage Vladimir Putin to sit at the table of the peace talks, my answer is we should launch such a strong measure to force Vladimir Putin to ask for peace, peace negotiations, yeah, because this is not a, I don't want to beg Vladimir Putin to sit at the table. I want Vladimir Putin to beg us, to beg Ukraine, to beg allies of Ukraine to sit at the table and to talk how to end this war and how to solve all the problems we have also around. And
this is my video update on this Thursday afternoon, January the 23rd, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with let's see, Zelenskyy. Let's start things off with Zelenskyy at the WEF. And he actually gave an interview to Bloomberg where the Green Goblin said that he is ready to talk to the Putin. That's right. He is ready to talk to Putin, even though, according to Ukrainian law or the Ukrainian constitution, he's not allowed to talk to the Putin. But he said he's ready to talk to the Putin under one condition. He has one condition, and that is that U.S. President Donald J. Trump provide security guarantees for Ukraine. If the United States provides security guarantees for Ukraine, then Zelenskyy will speak with Putin. That is what he said. And Zelenskyy was also speaking to the media yesterday at the WEF, and he was getting questions from journalists. And one of the questions was about the Istanbul agreements in 2022 and a peace deal and a ceasefire deal back then, and why it didn't hold. And Zelenskyy admitted that he pulled out of the Istanbul agreements because, well, he gave a lot of reasons, but the main reason was because, according to Zelenskyy, the Istanbul agreements would have seen him removed as president of Ukraine and the pro-Russian Medvedchuk placed as president of Ukraine. And Zelenskyy said that this was impossible. This was impossible. He could not accept such a condition. In 2022, the Istanbul agreements, if Zelenskyy accepted those agreements, if he accepted the ceasefire, then that would have meant that all of the billions, the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that poured into Ukraine after the agreements fell apart, that money would have never poured into Ukraine. And the Zelenskyy regime would have never had the opportunity to administer the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that poured into Ukraine following the breakdown of the Istanbul peace talks, for which Boris Johnson also flew to Kiev and told Zelenskyy to sabotage those agreements. Anyway, that is what Zelenskyy told the journalists. He also said at this media session that was taking place at the WEF, this Q&A, that he wants 200,000 peacekeepers, a minimum of 200,000 peacekeepers, if Trump gets to some sort of a ceasefire deal. And he wants those 200,000, minimum 200,000 peacekeepers. He wants them to not only be European, but they must be American. American boots on the ground is another one of Zelenskyy's requests. Zelenskyy said that Russia, during this Q&A, that Russia has an army of, I believe he said 1.5 million. It's an interesting number that he throws out there. 1.5 million in Ukraine, I believe was his statement. 1.5 million strong army. And if you believe the narrative from Trump, from Ukraine, from the collective West media, that Russia's losses are at 1 million, that would mean that Russia has lost 1 million soldiers and then managed to recruit another 1.5 million. Those numbers make zero sense. But that's the number that Zelenskyy threw out there. 1.5 million is the size of the Russian army. Zelenskyy also told reporters that he's very upset with the West and the United States and the Biden White House because they lied to him. They lied to him about NATO membership. They told him that he would get into NATO, that Ukraine would get into NATO, and Ukraine has not gotten into NATO. So he said this was a lie. By the way, there are reports which claim that Zelenskyy and his entertainment lawyer Yermak are preparing to fire Syrskyi, the commander of the Ukraine armed forces, the military. Syrskyi. This would be the second commander to be fired if this is true. First you had Zelenskyy, and now it looks like Syrskyi is on the chopping block. By the way, Podolyak, he also gave a statement yesterday where Podolyak said that in 8 months, the Russian economy will crumble. That is what Podolyak said. Give it 8 more months, everybody. 8 more months? What do you think? Will the Russian economy crumble in 8 months? Yes or no? Nah? You don't think so? You don't agree with Podolyak, eh? Mr. Cat, do you agree with Podolyak? No, I don't think Nicosia Cat agrees with Podolyak. Yeah, Podolyak said, just give it 8 more months. Just 8 more months. Then the Russian economy will crumble. So let's get to Trump's Truth Social post from yesterday that everyone is talking about. The Truth Social post where Trump said, well, let me read you the post. It's a bit of a long post, but let me read it to you. I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love the Russian people and always had a very good relationship with President Putin. And this despite the radical left's Russia hoax. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War, losing almost 60 million lives in the process. All of that being said, I'm going to do Russia, whose economy is failing, and President Putin a very big favor. Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't make a deal, and soon I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries. That's the important part, and various other participating countries. Let's get this war, which never would have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way or the hard way, and the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. Let me make you an offer you can't refuse. We can do this the hard way, or we can do this the easy way. Which one do you prefer? We could do it the hard way, or we could do it the easy way. Russia's economy is failing. It is failing. And I'm going to do Putin a very big favor. You're winning the war. You're going to win the war. But as the losing side involved in this proxy war, I'm going to do you a favor. Of course, Trump what he should always do whenever he posts or says anything about Ukraine is he should say, "This was not my war." That's what he should always put in any post or any statement. Always start off the post, or always start off the statement saying, Project Ukraine was Biden's war, but da 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 da, whatever you're going to say. But he doesn't do that. Trump is not listening. So Trump is telling Putin, I'm going to do you a favor. As the losing side, I'm going to do you a favor. And I'm telling you to end this war. Otherwise, Trump is threatening, and this is a warning, this is an ultimatum. He is threatening sanctions, taxes, or tariffs. Now, for Trump, there is no difference between sanctions, taxes, or tariffs. He said this during an interview that he gave to the media when he was signing the executive orders, when they asked him about sanctions, and Trump said sanctions on Russia, and Trump said sanctions, taxes, tariffs, whatever. That was basically his statement a couple of days ago, and in this post, Trump once again says taxes, tariffs, sanctions. So for him, there's no real difference, but we know that his policy, he wants his administration to be all about tariffs. So he is saying, I'm going to place tariffs on Russian goods coming into the United States, of which there are very little, diesel and uranium. That's what we're talking about. I believe the trade between Russia and the United States now is at 5 billion USD. Nothing, absolutely nothing. But the important part of his statement is where he says, and various other participating countries. I'm going to place tariffs on Russian goods and on other countries, other participating countries, which to me sounds like secondary sanctions or secondary tariffs, right? Secondary tariffs. Place tariffs on countries that you claim are transporting Russian oil and gas and other goods. Place tariffs on those countries and just blame it on the Putin. And what is the deep state going to say? What are the globalists going to say? What is the collective West media going to say? Are they going to complain about your tariffs policy? No, they're not going to complain about your tariffs policy, or at least this part of your tariffs policy, because it is all about Russia. It is all about stopping Putin's war machine. So that may be what is going on here from Trump. Maybe he's looking at a way to get his tariffs policy pushed forward, while at the same time blaming it on Russia, knowing that no one's going to complain about the tariffs because it's targeted at countries that are aiding Russia. That could be what is going on here. But this is a threat. This is a warning. This is an ultimatum. And it's never a good idea to threaten or warn Russia. Never a good idea. But Trump, in my opinion, he needs to stop talking about Project Ukraine. I think it's time for him to stop talking about Project Ukraine. I know reporters are asking him a lot of questions about Project Ukraine and about talks with Putin. They're doing this on purpose. They've been ordered to ask him these questions because the media, they know that the more they ask about Project Ukraine, the more this becomes Trump's war, and it gets removed from Biden and it gets placed on Trump's shoulders. The media knows this. That's why they're always asking about Ukraine, because they're trying to make this Trump's war. They want to make this Trump's war. So they're going to ask him about Ukraine over and over again. And what Trump should do is he should say, this was Biden's war. This was Biden's mess up. I'm trying to fix it. I don't want to talk anymore about it. That should be Trump's response going forward. That should be his response. Look, the Biden White House, we have been saying this for how long on this channel, for how long on the Duran? For probably 2 years. Probably 2 years we have been saying that the Biden White House's goal, Jake Sullivan's goal, knowing that they've lost the conflict to Russia, their goal is going to be to try and get the Zelenskyy regime past the US elections, the November elections, and keep them afloat past January 20th. And they did it. They accomplished that goal. And now they want to pin it all on Trump. So going forward, my advice to Trump, not that he's listening, not that he cares. Who am I to give advice? I'm just some guy in Cyprus with a camera recording a video. And my advice would be enough talking about Project Ukraine going forward. Just don't talk about it anymore. And if you are going to say anything about Project Ukraine, always mention that this is Biden's war and that your job is to try and fix it if you can. If you can't fix it, walk away. Walk away. in the Biden whisper, walk away. Walk away. That is what Trump should do. But he's getting misinformation. This is also true. He is getting a lot of misinformation. My guess is on Kellogg, the CIA. I imagine he's getting a lot of misinformation from these sources. No doubt, Fox News and the mainstream media. Trump definitely reads the mainstream media. We know this. We know that Trump is very much in tune with what the mainstream media is saying. The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, Fox News, NBC. Trump follows all of these mainstream media outlets. So he's getting a lot of misinformation from these sources as well. But the bright side to all of this is look at Trump's actions so far. Yes, he's saying a lot of wrong things. Yes, he's posting a lot of wrong things. Yes, he is getting sucked into Project Ukraine. Yes, the goal is to make this war Trump's war. Absolutely. That's what's happening. And those are the goals. But his actions are saying something different. From what I understand, Waltz is firing all of the intel that was involved in Project Ukraine. He's firing everybody. Everybody is getting canned. And Trump also put a 90-day stop to foreign aid. Now, there are different reports which claim that the 90-day pause, it's a pause in foreign weapons and foreign aid, does not cover Ukraine, does not cover Israel. I've read other reports which say it does not cover Israel, and I've read other reports which say it does not cover Ukraine. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the 90-day pause covers, or if it exempts Ukraine and Israel. But whatever the fine print says about this 90-day pause in money and weapons, it's a pause. It's a pause, and it's a type of audit, and that says something. That means that Trump is looking at all of the reckless wars and the reckless spending and the reckless proxy wars and everything that Biden was involved in. So his actions, Trump's actions, point to a president that wants to disengage from Project Ukraine. His words are saying something else. But always keep in mind that Trump's number one goal is tariffs. He wants to place tariffs. And maybe Russia is a vehicle for him to place tariffs in 100 days. In 100 days for him to get all of his people confirmed, understanding that Putin has won this war, understanding that there's going to be no ceasefire, and finding a way to say, okay, well, I'm going to place some tariffs on these countries, X, Y, and Z, which are aligned with Russia. Tariffs. Anyway, those are some quick thoughts on on Trump's post from yesterday. Lex Fridman on Joe Rogan said that he is going to go to Russia and interview Putin. It seems like everybody goes on Joe Rogan now to undergo some sort of a rehabilitation. Like Zuckerberg was on Rogan to change up his persona and his image. Lex Fridman, after the disastrous interview of Zelenskyy, he ends up on Joe Rogan and he makes the announcement that he's going to go to Russia and he's going to interview Putin. Just the other day, he was talking about how Zelenskyy was cursing like a drunk sailor, and he was trying to give Zelenskyy an opportunity to talk about peace, but all Zelenskyy was doing was cursing, which was an interesting take, because when I got through the Lex Fridman interview with Zelenskyy, I saw someone who was a huge fanboy of the Green Goblin. Big time fanboy of the Green Goblin, very hostile towards Russia. Someone who told Zelenskyy, come to Texas and we'll barbecue. That's what he told Zelenskyy, come to Texas and we'll barbecue. And Zelenskyy's like, yeah, I like barbecue. I like hamburgers, I like hot dogs, but Olyak likes to barbecue too. That's what I saw. That's what I heard. Now he's saying that Zelenskyy was cursing a whole lot. And you know what, Joe? I'm going to go to Russia and I'm going to interview Putin. And I understand the risks. That was hilarious. Lex Fridman telling Rogan, I understand the risks. Like traveling to Russia is very risky. I was there a few months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. Very risky. Very dangerous, very risky. But I made it. I made it. Here I am. I made it out alive. Nonsense, man. Absolute nonsense. So the Kremlin responded to Lex Fridman, and they said that his people have been in contact with the Kremlin, but in the short term, there's going to be no interview. That's what Peskov said. Peskov said, right now, Putin doesn't have any need to do any interviews. By the way, did I mention that Peskov, he replied to the Trump's post on Truth Social, that he responded to it, and he said that for the Kremlin, Trump's words are nothing new. That's what Peskov said. He's like, whatever, we're used to this. No big deal. We're winning. We're winning. So Trump can talk about sanctions. We have 40,000 sanctions on us anyway, and he can try to threaten us and warn us. We are going to achieve all of the goals of the special military operation, but we're always open to dialogue. Anyway, that's what's going on with the Lex Fridman interview. It's interesting to monitor the media now when it comes to Project Ukraine, because there's one part of the media, the collectivist media, which is talking about how a Trump ceasefire is going to provide Putin with the time he needs to rearm and resupply, right? A ceasefire would be bad. A Trump deal would be bad because that would give Putin the time he needs to rearm. That's one side of the collective West media. The other side of the collective West media is urging a ceasefire on. They're saying we have to get a ceasefire. We have to absolutely get a ceasefire. That's the best outcome for Ukraine, and that's the best outcome for Russia. Well, of course, they're saying it's the best outcome for Russia because that part of the media that is urging a ceasefire, like the Lex Fridman side of the media, which is pushing for a ceasefire, understands that in 6 to 9 months, Russia's got this thing wrapped up. And that's the last thing they want to see. They don't want to see a Russian military victory because they know that in 6 to 9 months, it's game over militarily. Even Patrushev said a week ago that in 2025, we've got a plan to wrap this thing up. But, I guess there is that part of the media that does say, well, we got Russia to agree to the Minsk deals, Minsk 1 and Minsk 2. We got Russia to agree to restraint with the Trump administration entering the White House, even though Biden crossed the big red line with long-range missile strikes into Russian territory. So maybe we can also get Putin to believe that the ceasefire is the best way forward. It's possible. It's very possible. So at the WEF, at the Klaus Schwab Eats Them Bugs event, which, from what I understand, looking at some photos, was very, very empty. It seems like it's not so cool and hip to be at the WEF anymore. Some of the photos of the auditorium at the WEF, some of those photos showed a lot of empty seats. A lot of empty seats. And you got to imagine, if you're a politician, an invite to the WEF is probably not a good thing. The last thing you want to see is videos of you attending the Klaus Schwab WEF make the rounds in your country. But Millet decided to go to the WEF and give a speech. Javier Millet, oh boy. Anyway, he went to the WEF and he gave a speech. But the Juan Guaido of Belarus, Tikhanovskaya, I believe Sveta Tikhanovskaya, she was speaking at the WEF at a panel discussion, and she said that it's time for regime change in Belarus. She was urging for a regime change in Belarus. She actually told the panel that Lukashenko and Belarus is Vladimir Putin's weak point. That is how you destroy Putin. The way, she said, to get to Putin, to destroy Putin and destroy Russia, is you have to get to Belarus first. So that's the Juan Guaido, Tikhanovskaya, and what she said at the WEF. Actually, she was speaking with the Prime Minister of Sweden, or being interviewed by the Prime Minister of Sweden at this panel session. And Politico actually put out an article yesterday. No coincidence that Politico is running this article right after Tikhanovskaya called on Europe to put a regime change in Belarus together. That Politico ran an article with the title, "Inside Belarus's Secret Program to Undermine the EU. Intercepted phone calls and documents obtained by Politico reveal how Lukashenko's regime weaponized migration." Ah, yes, the weaponization of migration from Lukashenko. I thought they liked migration. I don't know. I've never understood the EU. Migration from Belarus bad, but migration from Erdogan good? I don't know. Is that how it goes? I don't get it. I don't understand. It's very important. It's very important where the migration comes from. That's what matters, right? If the migration crosses from Turkey into the European Union, that's good. But if the migration crosses from Belarus to the European Union, that's bad. Oh, man. Did you guys see the story about the EU commissioner who put out a statement saying that it's good for the war to continue in Ukraine because it weakens Russia, so that in a couple of years, the European Union and NATO can fight a weakened Russia? That's the logic employed by this NATO. No, he's an EU. Is he a NATO or EU? EU commissioner. EU commissioner Andrius Kabilis. Yep. EU commissioner hopes Ukraine conflict continues by arming Kiev. NATO member states may have granted themselves valuable time to grow stronger. Andrius Kubilis has stated every missile, every drone shot down by Ukraine is one that will not threaten Europe, one that will not threaten NATO, he claimed, adding that every day Ukraine fights on is a day that European Union and NATO can grow stronger. And let me take a guess. He's from the Baltics. Andrius Kubilius, yes, former Prime Minister of Lithuania, Commissioner for Defense and Space, former member of the European Parliament. He's a globalist from Lithuania. Big surprise. I'm shocked. I am shocked that he came out with this statement. Europe, the EU, not Europe, the EU. They are definitely itching for war with Russia. They definitely want war with Russia. It's the only thing that can save the EU, is a war with Russia. It's the only thing that will keep the U.S. money flowing into the European Union is a smash with Russia. They have nothing else. They have tourism and military. That's the European Union. Tourism, and not all the countries in the European Union, and military war, arms production, arms purchases from the US. That's all they got. Project Ukraine. That's what's been left of the European Union. So for them, it is absolutely vital that they continue to escalate with Russia. Because that's the only thing that is holding them together, and that's the only thing that will keep the US, in their minds, that's the only thing that will keep the US invested and funding the European Union, Europe. Politico has an article with the title, "Will Europe Send Troops to Post-War Ukraine?" Everyone agrees conversations need to move forward, but no one really knows how. So let me read you the first couple of paragraphs from this Politico article, just so you understand how anxious the EU is to get some sort of war or conflict going with Russia in the next couple of years. It's March 2027, and soldiers from European peacekeeping forces are patrolling the demarcation line separating Ukraine from Russian-occupied territory. The troops are tense. Suddenly, a loud boom is heard, and what looks like a Russian drone comes crashing into one of many coalition miradors built along the de facto border. One soldier is killed and another wounded. In the hours following this incident, Russia blames Ukraine for shooting down one of its surveillance drones. How Europe responds could plunge the continent back into the throes of war. The situation is, of course, fictional, but it's this type of scenario that military planners across Europe must account for as discussions on deploying peacekeeping troops to Ukraine appear to gather steam. Peacekeeping troops in Ukraine. Tripwire. We got to get a ceasefire in Ukraine. We got to get a ceasefire. We got to get boots on the ground in Ukraine. If we can even get American boots in Ukraine, then we got the ultimate tripwire. And then in 2-3 years, maybe we can get some sort of a smash with Russia. And then the money to our globalist coffers and bank accounts can really start pouring in. Yeah. War, military, and tourism. That's the future of the European Union, or at least that's the future that the current leadership of the European Union wants for its citizens. Kaja Kallas gave a speech yesterday, and that's what she was talking about. We got to get into a war with Russia. That was pretty much Kaja Kallas' speech. We need to get into a conflict with Russia. We need to escalate with Russia. We need a conflict with Russia. The top diplomat of the European Union, Kaja Kallas, that's her number one concern. How do we get into a smash with Russia? Now, if you're Greece, the future is not looking so bad. Even though the Greek economy is not looking so good, the future may not be so bad. Maybe Greece is going to become an EU powerhouse because it's got tourism. It has got tourism. And Mitsotakis, the prime minister of Greece, he said that Germany needs to get its act together. Germany needs to get its act together. That's right. Greece has tourism. Germany, not so much. Unbelievable times, huh? The Greek prime minister is telling Germany to get its act together. I remember 15 years ago when Germany was telling Greece to get its act together. Yeah, they were calling Greeks lazy and broke and bankrupt. That was like 15, 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? 15 years ago. Yeah. And now you have the Greek prime minister telling Germany to get its act together. Greece has tourism. Cyprus has tourism. They're going to be an EU powerhouse, whatever that's going to mean, I don't know. But anyway, Habeck is saying who is running for chancellor, by the way. He is Annalina's better half, dumber half. He's the dumber part of the Annalina Habeck Green Party coalition. Habeck is the less intelligence part of that cooperation. He said, if you want to believe that, if you can believe that, he said, if we do not want to be dependent, the lesson must be the next X, the next Google must come from Germany or Europe. Yeah, good luck with that. Germany, Europe, of creating a social media company, a world-class social media company. Not going to happen. Never going to happen. What do you think about Habeck? You like Habeck? Nah, you don't like Habeck, do you? I bet you this cat would do a better job running Germany than Olaf Scholz. Right? Yeah. You're happy here. Yeah. I understand. I understand. So that's Habeck. I'm talking to the cats. I think I'm going insane. Yeah, Habeck is saying that that a world-class social media company has to come from Europe or Germany. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. Never say never. I'm saying never. Habeck also said that the EU must limit reliance on U.S. energy. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. And who are you going to get your energy from? The flux capacitor? Doc Brown? It's a flux capacitor, Marty. I put stuff in it and it creates energy and I can travel in time. Annalina's probably calling up scientists in Germany. We need a flux capacitor. We need a flux capacitor now. Hey, Robert Habeck, have you seen this flux capacitor thing? Oh boy, that's Habeck. Let's talk some clown world. Got a lot of clown world today. Did you guys read the story about the Ukraine chief psychiatrist? It's according to the BBC. Chief psychiatrist arrested on $1 million corruption charge. Here's a post from Glenn Greenwald. Ukraine's chief army psychologist was arrested Tuesday on charges of stealing $1 million in foreign war aid. Oh my. He bought apartment buildings, BMWs, and had $150,000 at home. Wow. No wonder Dems and McConnell called Rand Paul a Kremlin agent for wanting an audit. Yep. Well, that is where a small, itsy bitsy little tiny part of the 300, 400, 500 billion in US money that made its way to Project Ukraine. That's just one small little part. It went to this psychiatrist or psychologist who ended up buying a bunch of Beamers. Beamers and $150,000 just sitting there in cash. Oh man, unbelievable stuff. Rob Schneider, the comedian. Great comedian. Funny actor, great comedian. He was giving a speech, I believe, at a Turning Point USA event. And man, did he crush Zelenskyy. He crushed Zelenskyy. Check out the video. I can't play it. I can't play what he said, but man, it was funny. He basically said that Zelenskyy goes through billions of dollars because, you know, he has this proclivity, this thing that he likes to do, and he goes through billions of dollars, and he dresses like crap, and he says dumb stuff, like we're going to defeat Russia, and he says that's how you know that Zelenskyy is this thing that everyone calls him. But anyway, I won't get into the details. Check out the video. It's really funny, his speech at this Turning Point. I believe it is a Turning Point USA event. So there was a politician from Denmark, I believe an EU Parliament guy from Denmark, Anders Vistisen. He was giving a speech at the EU Parliament, the make-believe EU Parliament. It's like drinking tea made of air. That's what the parliament in the EU is. It's starting to rain. It's a make-believe, pretend parliament. Anyway, the representative from Denmark, he gave a speech and he told Trump, hands off of Greenland, and then he told Trump to F off. That is what he said. Dear President Trump, listen very carefully, he said in English. Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It's an integral part of our country. It's not for sale. Let me put it in words you might understand. Wilson continued, Mr. Trump, F off. Yeah, Trump's not going to like that. He is not going to like that statement. Anyway, that was his statement at the EU Parliament. And the Prime Minister of Spain, the country that is in BRICS, Spain, he gave a speech at the WEF, of course. Of course, Sanchez was at the WEF. Why not? And he called on anonymity on social media sites to be abolished. He said that going forward, there needs to be rules and laws in place that remove anonymity from social media, from the internet. We know where this is going, right? We know what Sanchez is advocating for. Digital IDs and logging onto the internet with your digital ID and your real name and your digital passport or whatever they want to give us, so that you can never be anonymous. And if you post something that they don't like, that's far right, then they can take whatever actions they want to take against you. That's basically what Sanchez was getting at as he was speaking at the WEF. He also said that tech billionaires want to overthrow democracy. I found this to be a very interesting statement from Sanchez. All of a sudden, the tech billionaires want regime change. Yeah, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Musk, Gates, I don't know, Bill Gates. They want to overthrow democracy now. 6 months ago, the tech billionaires, with the exception of Musk, all of the other tech billionaires were our best buddies. Now they want to overthrow democracy. They want regime change. Interesting statement from Sanchez. And finally, sticking with the WEF, we had, this should come as no surprise actually, we had the foreign minister of what is left of Syria being ruled by HTS head choppers. The foreign minister was at the WEF being interviewed by Tony Blair. Shocker. No surprise there. Tony Blair interviewing an HTS Al-Qaeda guy at the World Economic Forum makes perfect sense. That's my video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I'm wearing in this video. And like this channel, subscribe to this channel. I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.